with a wooden spoon right now, because you obviously do not know mixed martial arts. Chris Lieben has got to be the worst fighter I've ever seen in my life. Sorry if I'm getting a little bit loud here, but Chris Lieben, this really fires me up. Chris Lieben sucks. It's official. The guy sucks. The guy, you can look at the entire UFC roster, pretty much pick young guys or sometimes older guys that have future champion, have the potential to be a champion in their weight class. But you know what? Chris Lieben has loser written all over him. Loser. Remember Ace Ventura there? Loser. Yeah, he has that written all over him, okay? Chris Lieben is a loser in my mind. He's a failure at life. The guy should just go jump off a bridge because he's never going to amount to anything. And wow. He bumps Diego and Koscheck, 2 ranked welterweights, and a ranked heavyweight Andrei Arlovski. I can see Arlovski, because he hasn't fought in a year, and his last fight was pretty much boring. But Koscheck, a great wrestler, who lost a decision in August to GSP, in a pretty well-fought fight. I can see Diego. I can see why he'd be bumped, because he's lost 2 in a row. But Koscheck, you don't bump 2 ranked fighters, 3 ranked fighters. You don't bump 3 of their matches, and you put on crap like Chris Lieben and Alessio Sakara. Jesus. Oh my God, that ticked off my stepdad, that ticked off my cousin Joe, that ticked me off. It ticked everybody that was watching UFC at my house last Saturday night. It ticked us way off. And speaking of those prelims, Josh Koscheck beat down his guy in the second round. And my stepdad is a huge fan of Diego Sanchez. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been wondering for some time, has Diego lost it? Diego went and lost a decision to Josh Koscheck, lost a decision to John Fitch. Everybody was all like, has Diego lost his intensity? Has Diego lost his will to fight? I'll tell you what, the old Diego Sanchez is back, ladies and gentlemen, as he made his guys submit from strikes. He beat the hell out of his opponent. It's awesome. It was great to hear that. And to think that Chris Lieben barely knocked out or beat up Alessio Sakara when there was a brutal, dominating fashion that Diego won his fight. And to think we even get to see it. That's what amazes me. You know, they put on crap like Lieben and Sakara. You know, we'll see Koscheck's prelim fight, but we won't see Diego's prelim fight. That made my stepdad pretty angry, and we still want to see that fight. But I guarantee you, the old Diego Sanchez, I believe he is back. He is back in a blaze of glory. He didn't just win by a decision, he beat the crap out of the guy, from what I heard. So, yeah. Big news coming out of UFC 82. We've all been wondering ever since, at least I have been wondering, ever since Lesnar's first match and first defeat in the UFC to Frank Mir, who is Lesnar's next opponent going to be? For a couple of weeks now, people have been throwing around the rumor of Justin McCauley, an unknown heavyweight that trains at Big Bear with Tito Ortiz and won a decision over Anthony Hardunk at an Ultimate Fight Night. But Mark Coleman was in attendance at UFC 82 because he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we have found out that planned for August in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the hometown of Brock Lesnar, it is going to be Mark the Hammer Coleman taking on Brock Lesnar in a heavyweight collision, ladies and gentlemen. That fight is going to be off the charts. I can't wait for it. And I'm a little nervous for Lesnar because I don't want him going the Dan Henderson route and losing 2 matches in a row. But this will be only his 3rd fight going against a Hall of Famer in Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman is said to be too old. I've heard people say recently that they're trying to put Coleman in there as like they're kind of Randy Couture for now, since Couture is having problems with Zuffa and UFC, and we don't want to get into that right now. But Lesnar and Coleman kind of send goosebumps up my spine. Coleman is he's a powerhouse. He invented the ground and pound, former UFC heavyweight champion himself. But I'll tell you what, this is going to be one for the ages. Both are great wrestlers. It is going to be an awesome fight come August from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You can better believe, like every single UFC pay-per-view, I'm buying that one. I'm not going to miss out a Lesnar fight. Speaking of returns, let's go to professional wrestling. How many of you fans out there for the longest time have been waiting for the return of the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, the great one, The Rock? The Rock returns not in a wrestling ring, but the night before WrestleMania at the Hall of Fame ceremony to induct his father, Rocky Johnson, and his uncle, Peter Maivia. And that brings up the debate. recently of people of wrestling fans. You have to think that with it being WrestleMania weekend, The Rock may possibly get into the action at WrestleMania a little bit for him to do. Give the wrestling fans a little glimpse of what we should still be witnessing and all this stuff. But John Cena said some comments recently, I believe, and he said how he didn't like how The Rock said he loved wrestling and would do anything for the sport and kind of turned his back on it. And that pretty much was a slap to the face of the wrestling fans. Because you look at it, I'm kind of disgusted with The Rock. I can see why he'd do it. I can see why The Rock would do it. It's a smart business decision for the Great One. But wrestling made The Rock. Bottom line. The Rock would not be in movies if it was not for his popularity in wrestling. And who gave him his popularity in wrestling? We did. The wrestling fans. People like me. People like you sitting on YouTube watching, and watching my show right now. People, your friends that love professional wrestling. All of us fans that have followed professional wrestling from the late 90s built The Rock up, truly made him the most electrifying man in sports entertainment today, and made him the Great One. So when he left professional wrestling and pretty much slapped us in the face by not coming in, doing like a Hulk Hogan bit where he comes in for a month and wrestles and then leaves. Just do that. Doesn't make any special appearances. Declined an offer to come to the Raw 50th anniversary show recently. I'll tell you what, it's kind of a slap in the face to the wrestling fans and to the wrestling business. The business that helped put The Rock on the map. And if Rock was to get beaten down in an alley, I wouldn't really care. Because I believe he deserves it. I could see why he would do such a thing. I mean, who's going to beat up their body for 300 days a year on the road, making about a couple of million when The Rock can go do a movie and get paid probably 5 times that amount just to do some scenes, read some lines. I can see why he did it, but it kind of disgusted me. It hurt my feelings. I'm pretty sure it hurt all wrestling fans' feelings. And just imagine, how we would feel today. I mean, how the business, how Raw would be each week if we still had The Rock. If we still had Stone Cold Steve Austin. Speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, how good would it be? Remember that ultimate triple threat match we were supposed to have at Survivor Series 99 when Stone Cold got ran over by that car? And it was for the heavyweight title. We never got to see the ultimate triple threat match. I'm throwing it out there right now. And probably nobody's going to listen to me. But I'm throwing it out there right now. With The Rock returning, you get The Rock to come to a Hall of Fame. You can guarantee that Vince McMahon is going to call him aside and negotiate some kind of deal with The Rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin's an employee for life. And so is Triple H. He's married into the McMahon family. The Rock is the holdout here. How would it be to possibly build up the ultimate triple threat match? Not for this year's WrestleMania, because it's too late already. But how would it be to possibly build it for SummerSlam? For Survivor Series, where the match was first supposed to take place almost 10 years ago now. Or even build it up for next year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 25. The ultimate triple threat match, the match we all want to see. Other than Stone Cold Steve Austin against Hogan, that is possibly the only dream match most of you can think of right now, is that ultimate triple threat with Triple H, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. 3 of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era, and Triple H, a great wrestler today, The Rock, a great wrestler of the past time, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the same exact thing. We still need to see that match, ladies and gentlemen. You talk about dream matches. That is a dream match I fantasize about. That is a dream match I dream about. I go to sleep every night sometimes thinking how a dream matches in Rock, Austin, Triple H always pops into my head. Because I wanted to see that match. I bought that pay-per-view just to see that match, and I didn't get to see it. And that disappointed me. It really did. I would love to see that match these days. I'd love to see it. Vince McMahon, or anybody that watches this, I want you. Let's make a movement to make that match happen. Sound like a freak right now, probably, but I'm telling you, I mean, come on. You cannot tell me that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad match. We think of dream matches these days, but some of our dream matches we think of can't really happen because the people are too old. We think of Sting versus John Cena, or Sting, versus Ric Flair again. All these guys that we think of dream matches, they're too old. But Stone Cold, The Rock, and Triple H are kind of in the middle. They're not too young, they're not too old. Right in the middle. Let's make this happen for the wrestling fans. I guarantee you that would sell a big gate for whatever